Let's look at how you string beads onto yarn for knitting beaded wrist warmers such as these. The beads we're going to work with today are size 6 or 6/0 seed beads, and these fit on worsted weight yarn. So this is an example of a pair of wrist warmers knit with worsted weight yarn and size 6 beads. The next size smaller that I like for knitting is size 8 or 8/0, and these fit well on fingering or sock yarn. This is made with fingering weight wool yarn with size 8 beads. And this is made with a very special yarn I bought in Lithuania. It's made in Latvia, and it's kind of in between what we have as fingering and lace weight yarn in the United States. So if you find a very fine fingering or kind of a heavy lace weight yarn, you can fit size 10 or 10/0 seed beads on this. I recommend seed beads from the Czech Republic or from Japan because they are the nicest quality and most consistent size holes in them, so you won't have any trouble getting them on the yarn. And they come a lot of times in some kind of small plastic tube. Usually you need 1 or 2 of these tubes to make a pair of wrist warmers. I like to use these things called gum that are dental floss threaders instead of a needle for stringing my beads. And they're plastic, they come 25 in a pack, and they're very inexpensive. So you just take one out of the pack. They have a big eye on them, like the eye of a needle, a big loop, and then a straight part, which would be like the point of the needle. And I put the end of the yarn through the big loop, and it's hard to see because it's such a fine little needle, but the yarn has a double tail because it's looped over through the loop on the little dental floss threader. And then I put a bunch of beads in a bowl, and I pick them up by just putting the point of that into a bead and letting it go on. And then I push the bead with my fingers onto the yarn like that and just push it all the way up. If you have a lot of beads in your bowl, you can usually scoop like that and you'll get a few beads on with each thing instead of going into each bead separately. So sometimes people don't like to do this or think it's going to be tedious, but I find it very relaxing. So if you just need something mindless to do sometime while you're listening to an audiobook or something, you can do this. Just make sure that you have a nice table and you're not going to be disturbed by small children or animals that are going to bump into you and make you spill the beads. So that's all there is to stringing the beads onto the yarn. You just string on as many as you need for your pattern, and you can push them up as far as you want on the yarn to get some of them out of the way for later and keep some down kind of near where you'll be knitting.